And in our communities and the countries that we are born, it's not an accident. We have the power. It is our responsibility. Nobody is coming to save us. And those who come to save us, the price is too high. Are we prepared to continue paying that price? Is the question we must ask ourselves. And what is the value it is adding or continue to add? And what do we exchange for what we are sacrificing or surrendering?
What if? What if all the knowledge that we have, the know-how that we have, because we have a lot of know-how in the community. I've interviewed over 1,000 people, mostly within the African diaspora community. That is what led to With Diaspora, the project that we are running right now, which is centered mostly on tourism exchange, cultural tourism exchange, but also on other areas, because we are going to be handling conferences, inviting people to share ideas. It's fundamentally important for us that we do this. Let's revisit some of those important conferences that were done, those debates that we have had. And most importantly, how do we translate those things into reality?
Not only just trusting each other, but also that trust has to be earned. That trust has to be, it's one thing. So many people, I've heard on many of these audio rooms that we have, people have come in so upset, saying that they have trusted, they have been burnt, from their brethren, their fellow community, Black person who they're working with. So we have to learn to also be trustworthy, and that it's going to take some time because a lot of damage has been done.
Today's conversation, where we are going to be talking about the role of entrepreneurship in the African diaspora community. And this is fundamentally important because if you look at the diaspora community, of course, depending on how you look at it and which area and which data you are evaluating, you see that it's not that there is no money, there is money, but that the money is going away from us all the time. No? That you go to work, you get your salary, then you go spend it on on the businesses of other people. So a lot of people are sort of be asking, how do we retain the money that we are making so that we can help you to develop our community? But apart from just that, which is the profit, but there is also the non-profit side, no? In the sense of looking at the community and building something that can be useful to the community, that can be of socially beneficial to the community. And I think this is important for us to be able to grow and expand as a community. And of course, there are different dimensions to it, but this is what we are going to be looking at today. And of course, I thank all the people that are taking their time to join us in this conversation. They are taking the time because it is important for them. It's important for us because we are the ones that are supposed to do this. Nobody's coming to do it for us. So I thank you, Reverend Gloria Tino, who is joining from the UK just now. Why don't we start with tell the people about who you are, and of course, other people are going to join us later on. Please go on, Reverend Gloria.
Thank you. Greetings, my brother. Alafia, as we say in my Yoruba language. My name is Gloria Tinu Ogunbadejo. I'm a Nigerian from the Yoruba culture, and I'm an ordained minister. I'm an ancestral lineage healing practitioner, a cultural educator, and a spiritual guide. Rooted in Yoruba cosmology, I support diaspora communities, especially women, to heal generational trauma, reconnect with ancestral wisdom, and live with purpose. My work blends indigenous knowledge systems, storytelling, and transpersonal psychology to inspire transformation in individuals and communities. Through my unique approach, I help people remember who they are, reclaim what was lost, and reimagine what is possible spiritually, culturally, and creatively. So that's me.
So thank you so much for the time that you are spending here. Just before we started to record just now, we were saying that nobody can say that it is not important to talk about what we are talking about today, which is building something that all of us can benefit from as a people. And it is not by accident that we are doing this. This is really intentional that we are doing this. So we are doing this intentionally, connecting among ourselves and doing something that other people can also benefit from. Sometimes we need to understand the very basics, no? In that life is not supposed to be just based on the individual. It's supposed to be a collective existence. We're supposed to be sharing. We're supposed to also be living this experience as a collective existence, as it were, no? Because it's not just about you, about individual. So today I was sharing something with a guest. This is something that was shared with me by Professor Luwafemi. So Professor Luwafemi, during the conversation, which was about Ifa theology, says something to the effect that when a child is born among the Ifa practitioners, and of course, Ifa is part of the Yoruba extraction of Nigeria, the elders among Ifa will gather at the 8th day. They will gather to consult an oracle, and what they are looking for is to find out what is the purpose of this child, what is the mission this child has brought to our community. So what this is telling us is that you are not left alone to figure out everything on your own. Life is lived collectively. Life is communal, the way it was originally supposed to be. Professor Luwafemi also says something important in that same conversation, that when you look at a plant like a mango tree or an orange tree or a guava tree, the nature so intelligently designed it that when you are a plant, the fruit that you produce is not for you. And he said, have you ever entered into the forest, or maybe you go to a guava plant, the guava produces a fruit and the guava consumes the fruit? It doesn't happen like that. What happened is that even if there were no human being to consume the guava or the orange or the mango, other part of the living thing, like the other animals or the birds, even if there were no birds, the winds, which are by extension part of life, they will blow it and spread it to other parts of the land, which is to say that what you know, what you do, the power that you have, your intelligence, your know-how is not entirely for you. Is for you to serve, is for you as an instrument to be able to add value to other people. So that you are like a guava, you are like an orange plant, you are like mango tree. You are not going to eat that thing that you are producing. You are going to give it out. You see, this might be conflicting for some persons who think that what they know is for them. But it's not conflicting at all. What nature is saying here is that I am a guava tree. I produce fruit. Let the birds of the air come to enjoy this fruit. But as the birds of the air are coming, they are also exchanging something for them to get the fruit. Now, without the birds of the air that are coming to eat, okay, in this case, that we can also add the human being and the rest of all of us that are living together, the guava will suffer. The guava will not live. The guava will eventually die. But because we are living, we are sharing this life together, I help the guava to be alive. The guava helped me to be alive. So we are sharing. We are essentially sharing. And I think if we take this to the human society where we live in, it also means that what I know how to do is not for me. I am supposed to use it to serve other people. But in return, other people also know other things which is different from me. They're supposed to also use that to serve me. As we depend on each other like this, the society becomes balanced. You see, I think this is it's a basic arithmetic of life that when we understand it, we will treat life differently. We'll come to understand that It's not just about me. It's not me, 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 me. No, no, no. It's about us, all of us. All right, Reverend Gloria, it's like you want to say something there. Please go ahead and share.
No, I'm just agreeing. I'm really just agreeing with you, fully that our greatest wealth, unfortunately, we're now in a society, in the world, is everything is so materialistic. And I think about indigenous people and Africans in the diaspora, and that is not how we lived. That's not how our ancestors lived. And this way of living that we're the existence that we are in now, we can see the impact it's having on us all. It's creating so much disease, of the mind, of the body. Our greatest wealth is not just in money, but in memory, community, and in meaning, purpose in life. People are walking around without any purpose. They don't know what they've been brought into the world to do. They don't know, they're misaligned with their divine purpose. And the results is the chaos, the polycrisis that we're living through now, which if we continue in this way, I have so much fear at where it's going to take us. When we heal our lineage, we awaken innovation. There's creativity in that way of thinking. Our people were so creative, and this is what we need to reclaim. When we live in a community, when we serve the collective, we create powerful futures. And my thoughts on the topic today is from my lens of ancestral healing through the Yoruba cosmology that from my culture. Just look at the role of social entrepreneurship in the diaspora. I look at social entrepreneurship as spiritual, and it's spiritual and ancestral work, really. Social entrepreneurship in the diaspora, I believe, is not just about business. It's about repairing what was broken by colonization, migration, and forced displacement. Ties in with what you were saying, Brother Obey, that if we don't know who we are and we're functioning based on the tools that we've been given to work with by the colonizers, we're going to do more damage to ourselves and our lineage going forward. We'll never progress. And again, this will also take us away from being aligned with who we are. Being aligned with your Uri, which I talk about a lot. That is the divine ancestral guide that we've come to the world with, like you said, what Brother Femi said, that after 8 days, after a child is born, they take the child to ask, what has this child come to the world for? So we've come with a purpose. And social entrepreneurship in the diaspora plays a huge part in helping us to find ways to reclaiming some of what we've lost, making reparation for ourselves, never mind looking for it for someone else. Many of us are answering the prayers of those who have come before, creating ethical, sustainable communities, centered within the form, centered in ways that will help enhance humanity. And this is what we have to be very intentional in doing this. This is not something that can just be done haphazardly. There has to be intention, and that intention has to come from a full understanding that who am I? Where did I come from? What do I need to become aligned, realigned? Because we're so many of us are so far off the trail, and it shows. I mean, some of the things the ways that we're behaving, I'm not even interested in the host communities here. We who live in the diaspora, I look at how we're behaving, and I think, how is this going to enhance your life? How is this going to enhance your future generation? There's a complete misalignment. And there's a Yoruba proverb that says, when you touch the hem of a garment, you touch what's inside as well. So, in other words, it speaks of the depth of service, In other words, when you serve your community in small ways, you often touch deep wounds, histories, and hopes. This is such a spiritual thing that we're talking about now. And we also have to understand spirituality in its true meaning, not the way we've been encouraged to respond when we hear spirituality. For a lot of people in the diaspora, sadly, immediately they think that's something demonic. And I'm thinking, I can't even, when I even think of it, I don't even know how to respond to it. So I'll stop for now and welcome my lovely sisters who have entered the communication. Hello.
Thank you so much for that, Reverend Gloria. That is an important conversation. And I also like that you ended it with the question that Michael Means was asking. Actually, he was saying, who told you to hate yourself? Because among the African diaspora, and by extension in Africa, because what is happening in the diaspora is also what is happening in Africa. We hate ourselves. We hate our root. We hate our source. We hate everything about us. We want to, wash me clean, wash me whiter than the snow. Africans, you are saying, wash me whiter than the snow. But do you even have snow in your land? Do you have snow in Nigeria? We are confused. That is what is the situation. And when you are confused, you are at a danger to yourself. Okay, you see, the land of Africa is the most richest land in the world. Africa are the poorest people in the world. You see, those two doesn't usually go together. How can you be the richest and also the poorest? It doesn't make sense. But when you are confused, it makes sense because you don't know what to do. How can somebody, as a leader, for example, just to use that as an instance, just like I was doing of the plant, how can a leader, for example, we see the Nigeria current president, Ahmed Tinubu, always running to France. Running to France, you want to meet the French president, or you want to do some business of your own, or you want to go there for health reason. Each of these one, apart from going for bilateral relationship where you are going to be discussing trade, discussing political issue, explain that you are a failed president and you are coming from a failed society. Because I don't see French president coming to take treatment in Abuja. Why should you go to take treatment in France? I think as a leader in this case, the question should be, how come the people in France are able to take care of their medical necessities? How are they able to do it? So that you ask yourself, how can we do the same in Nigeria? Do we need to invite some people in France to teach the people in Nigeria how to heal themselves, cure themselves, do diagnosis, being able to understand how to cure the people? Because if we can fly the president to Paris for treatment, how many flights, how many airplanes do we need to put in Nigeria to fly Nigerian people to go and be treated in France? It means we just want to leave them to die. Of course, I am oversimplifying issues here. I understand that. If we are not confused, we will say, okay, how can I take care of my people so they can live well, so they can have good life? But if we are confused, we don't care about that because it's none of our business. I just want to make my bank account very big in Switzerland. Even though I'm in Nigeria, I don't want to live in Switzerland because if you go to Switzerland, you are the president of Nigeria, people look at you as ordinary. Because you want to go to Holland, you are seen as an ordinary person. You don't want to live as an ordinary person. You want to live among a people who look at you like God. That can only happen in Nigeria. But you are living in Nigeria, you are growing a bank account in Switzerland and in the US, you are buying houses in Chicago. But are you ever really going to live in Chicago? That is the evidence of confusion. We are confused. And this is in every other area. Anyway, I don't want to go deeper on that. So, yeah, thank you so much, beautiful ladies, for joining us. I was trying to give the mic to Dr. Marcia. Dr. Marcia, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Beautiful.
And I want to say good morning to everybody. I have heard the points, and I want to contribute to this conversation by asking a question. What if everybody combine their skills and their talents and their expertise to build where they are, to build their community, and to contribute to their host country or community? What is the difference it would make? I think it would make a great impact. And I think that because entrepreneurship is a choice, we need to get desperate enough. Our backs must be against the wall. And those who we are depending on that have infiltrated this learned helplessness in our minds and that confusion that you're speaking about must leave us buried, and we must now recognize the power we have in ourselves, and we must grasp that power so that our gifts and our talents and our solutions become authentic, and they become personal to us and treasured, and they are seen as the sacred stuff that they are, to make persons become masters of their own destiny. It must also be that even on the points where it is given as a charity, it creates a sustainable impact where each one is reaching one and each one is seeing everybody as valued and respected. We are responsible for our destiny. And in our communities and the countries that we are born, it's not an accident. We have the power. It is our responsibility. Nobody is coming to save us. And those who come to save us, the price is too high. Are we prepared to continue paying that price? Is the question we must ask ourselves. And what is the value it is adding or continue to add? And what do we exchange for what we are sacrificing or surrendering in our effort to get ahead or to feel that our lives can be better? Because entrepreneurship is an exchange of goods and services for the value that it carries. But it must also be a legacy for those who come behind us. They must find us faithful. They must become masters of their own destiny. They are not supposed to be mirroring anybody's thoughts and actions. They are not to become puppets in anyone. When you have unique gifts and talents, when you are a part of the DNA of your country, of your soil, of your environment, regardless of where it is. And worst of all, it's not to happen in the diaspora. We must build those bridges, and we must create those spaces for persons to be themselves while profiting, because we have to live and we have to pay our bills. And that's why entrepreneurship becomes so personal and becomes a legacy building enterprise, because we are given that space to use our gifts and our talents to serve ourselves and to serve others, to inspire others, to grow ourselves, and to create an impact that makes other people see the need to envelop and embrace themselves, believe in themselves, and have the confidence to take risks and to make mistakes and to explore. So until that light bulb is serving and giving light to everyone that is beside them, that is behind them, that is above them, that is below them, so that you become a feature, you become a built-in burden of impact. And I'm stressing that, I'm repeating that, you become an inbuilt burden of impact, because everywhere you touch, you leave something good behind and you carry something good forward. And that is where it is. So your frustration and the passions that we are feeling and the dreams that we're feeling are being unfulfilled become structured, purpose-led action that is personal and also collective.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Marcia. Thank you so much. That is really, really valuable. You see, you were asking the question, and of course, you did provide a valid answer to the question. What if? What if all the knowledge that we have, the know-how that we have, because we have a lot of know-how in the community. I've interviewed over 1,000 people, mostly within the African diaspora community. That is what led to With Diaspora, the project that we are running right now, which is centered mostly on tourism exchange cultural tourism exchange, but also on other areas, because we are going to be handling conferences, inviting people to share ideas. It's fundamentally important for us that we do this. Let's revisit some of those important conferences that were done, those debates that we have had. And most importantly, how do we translate those things into reality?
Trust is the currency of social entrepreneurship in the diaspora. Trust. We must trust each other, and we must believe in each other, and we must trust in our gifts and our talents and our uniqueness. And we must communicate that optimally so that we become, as I say, a burden of impact. We carry an inbuilt burden where our impact cannot be ignored or overlooked, because it is a unification that says all of us respect and trust each other, and we are going to support each other. So some of the gifts that people have and some of the unique resources that people have is being able to fund some of the dreams and the innovations that must change the diaspora and change the landscape for those who are coming. So resources funding is an important thing that we must put out there. We must be willing to take risks, and we must be willing to pull in all of those things that make us who we are.
Can I quickly add to that? Not only just trusting each other, but also that trust has to be earned. That trust has to be, it's one thing. So many people I've heard on many of these audio rooms that we've had,
so.
People have come in so upset, saying that they have trusted, they have been burnt, from their, their brethren, their fellow community, Black person who they're working with. So we have to learn to also be trustworthy, and that it's going to take some time, because a lot of damage has been done. But like I said earlier, if you're intentional, if you really, because we're one of the strongest people around, strong because because of what we have innately, what we've been given, what we've been blessed with, what we don't even have to do anything to get. We've come with that. And I think this is what a lot of the work that we're doing now is trying to get people to awaken those parts of themselves. And it has to be done with intention, because so much has been done to damage us, and we also have damaged ourselves. So we have to stop the rot. We have to take ourselves away from using our hand. We have a saying in Yoruba, "Afowara," you use your own hand to destroy yourself. That has to stop. So let me stop there.
I want to pick up something that you said there, Gloria, that crashes us many times. Desperation is not trust. And many times we mistake desperation for trust. And then we say people have defrauded us, but we must make informed decisions. We must be very strategic. We must verify that people say who they are, and what they can bring to us. We must have proof. And sometimes in our desperation to escape what we think is our prison or our oppression, we become servants of the oppressed because of desperation, and we now call that trust. That's not trust. Trust means that I know what I have to give, and I know what it means to exchange it. And there are certain things that must be on the table, and I must show up convincingly, knowing what I want and the path that must take me there. And your path must be clearly defined to see where we can meet and intersect and what we can do to serve each other. Many times it's just a desperation where we go to a blank stage, a blank slate, and we take people on what they are saying without any proof, and we call that betrayal. But we have betrayed ourselves because we are being so desperate that we do not do our background check. And we are not desperate enough to know that what I have, the resources I have, and the variables I have are too precious for me to just waste. So when I say we must be desperate enough, so we do the checks that we are to do, and we are not to mistake desperation for trust, so that we give ourselves blindly to those who are stumbling in the dark themselves with the hope that they can pull us into light, because we have enough sense and we have enough clarity, and we actually have enough skills, and we have enough unity, and we have as community that we can double check. We do have that community, and so the learned helplessness that we get that makes us victims all the time, and the mentality that we wear as a cloak pushes us into desperation. We mistake desperation for trust.
Thank you so much for that. I've got a question for Latifat. Latifa, before you came in, I was making an analogy with Sister Gloria. I was talking about the plant. I was talking about our knowledge of medicine, in that because we lost that, we don't longer follow that route. We are probably actually supposed to suffer, where because you can lose your source, your knowledge of yourself, and still being able to get to where you want to be. It is difficult. So now, talking about trust, talking about being able to trust the system, trust yourself, because now we're talking about relationship, being able to interrelate with other people, or look at it also like yourself, no? It calls on knowing even who you are. I think Dr. Marcel is also speaking along that line. You know what you are carrying, what you are bringing to the table. But the question I'm sort of wondering about here is it like maybe like a plant, no? A mango tree. A mango tree does not expect you that is going to, whether you are going to come to get the mango fruit or not. The mango tree is going to produce the mango fruit. If you don't come, the mango will fall. The mango tree is not going to eat the mango fruit because nobody came. When it gets to eat time, the fruit will fall down, meaning the mango tree has been faithful in that it produces what it was supposed to produce. Now, as human beings, are we going to base our trust on how the people relate to us, or to what extent are we going to be faithful when we interact with people?
Hi everyone, my name is Latifat Odunoga, and to remind us about this sensitive topic today, I want to tell you that I'm not here to entertain you. In my real actual life, I'm a story psychologist, not because I love stories, but because my childhood has been filled with a lot of stories. Here to remind you, we are not what happened to us as a people, but we are who we actually, or what we choose to become. I am not speaking today from a country. I'm Nigerian, but I'm not speaking today from a country. I'm speaking from a calling of truth. Because when I look at the word African diaspora, I'm not talking about people who are scattered over the world or who are dispersed over the world. I'm talking about seeded people who have been rooted in a lot of pain, in poverty. We've been planted in all of these places, in prisons, in terrible palaces. We're not really lost, we're growing back. We're growing back through all these businesses, through books, through all these bold ideas that we refuse to apologize for our existence. And speaking back to the idea of trust and how we use this to manage our relationships with people. I've seen a lot of people, and I'm going to use this tree analogy. People want to get the mango fruit, and they want to eat the entire mango fruit without planting the seed. I beg you, if you're one of those people and you're listening to this conversation, make sure you plant your seeds. Don't eat the fruit with the seed. And this is how trust manifests in our relationships. Because you want people to trust you and you don't want to trust them. You can't get that feedback. You can't get that. I don't even know how to use the word. You can't get that energy, right? Because you want to eat your fruit and you want to eat your seed. You don't want to leave something down so that you can plant and get more. Some people want loyalty, but they don't want to give loyalty back. Some people want to plant apple. They want to plant apple and they want to grow mango or grow yam. It's not possible. You get whatever you plant. So as a person, if you want to plant lies, deception, hypocrisy, you're not expected to get trust back. So as African diaspora, in our relationships with people, our genuinity, we know that we've been lied to for a long time. But in dealing with ourselves, we have to establish that sense of truth in others, in ourselves first, before we start, sharing with others. Because we cannot continue to lie to ourselves anymore. And we're not going to be waiting anymore. We're not waiting for anybody's validation. We're not waiting for these visas. We're not waiting for all these grants, all this venture capital. We're not waiting for anyone to help us fix what we were born to actually rebuild. I'm here to tell us the truth of who we are and who we must become, because we have to strip ourselves away from the grant, the accent, the title, the passport, because we are people who know how to make something out of nothing. We are the original social entrepreneurs. We have always been, for us, it is survival. And I need to remind you, when I was growing up, I used to see these women who used to sell akara down the street, and, with their little store, their children would come out and help them. I see these people with their mother sold oranges, and their child would help them to take out this is what we have always been. We've always survived. Some people, their mother knows how to braid hair, and the child also learns how to braid hair. And now these are the people who have moved to the diaspora now, and they're now trying to build businesses that is healing what colonization has tried to erase in us. We're not solving problems. We're actually solving generational equations. We have the people now that are now holding all this technology industry. And I'm going to tell you, I want to really share a story about what made me really go into storytelling, or after I went into storytelling. My father, originally from Lagos, Nigeria, he lived in Shomolu at the time he was alive, and he ran a printing company. He had a printing company that was successful. And when I started going into publishing, I said, if my father did this, I could do it too. So all the while that I published, I could do it because I saw my father doing it as a child. He ran a whole printing company in Shomolu, Lagos, and my mom was selling printing materials. And I count my privileges today, my ability to be able to manage people that know about printing. I still talk to printers. I talk to printers in Nigeria. I talk to printers in China. I talk to printers all over the world, because you know why? Because that's my family's legacy. So I'm using my story as a curriculum. I'm using my story as a guide, because this is who I am. It is not just about selling products or selling books. It is about the power that we have to design the future that we want for ourselves and our generation. I don't want to ask anybody, do you think I belong? Do you think that they're going to fund my initiative? Am I too black? Am I too African? Am I too bold? No. What I'm asking is, what will break if I don't build this? How many children will continue to go to the ER without getting help, and they're going to continue to get diagnosed, with mental illness without really solving the underlying issues that they are facing? What if our culture dies if I don't dare to challenge the systems that is failing us? And so when we talk about entrepreneurship, we really need to ask, who gets to build what? Which problems do we really want to solve? What stories are we trying to fund? Because I'm no longer begging for any seat at the table. I'm building my table. I'm like we're born in the breed. I'm building my own table. I could carve my tree, my table from Iroko tree, to name it after my ancestors. I want to teach children about climate change in Yoruba language. I want to teach them mental health in Yoruba language, in Igbo language, in Hausa language, without them scared of, oh, I don't know how to interpret this. So when it comes to the relationship and managing and trust, all these things that we are investing in ourselves, we also need to start investing it in the generations that are coming after us, so that they have a legacy that reminds them of who they are and why they are going to be doing this. Because I need to tell you, there is no more need we need to create awareness. No, we need access. We don't need no more panels. We need power. We don't need saviors. We need systems that's going to help us to know that this is how we want to build ourselves. We're not victims of history. We are revising the script, because this script is not new. This script has been, our ancestors have seen this. We have to build our own thing. Because if we don't do it, who's going to do it for us? And if not now, when are we going to do it? So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it from here. But remember, before I leave it, your culture is your curriculum. And talking about my own story and why I decided to go into publishing was because my father did it. And because he did it, I watched him do it as a child. At 7 years old, I would go to his printing press in Shomolu, and I saw the people who worked for him. Some of them are still alive today. I give them a call, and they're like, oh, my boss child is asking me to do something. And they do it for me. This is the power of relationship. This is the trust they've had in my family for years. Even though my father has died a long time ago, they still trust us. So I'm begging us all, to everyone in diaspora out there, don't think that you're too scared for social entrepreneurship. We need to manage these relationships. We are the editors of the scripts that we are writing. So I leave it for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Latifat. I like that part. We are the editor of the script that we are writing. In fact, we are the writer of this script. And that puts us at the driver's seat. Okay, now let's look at some of the possibility that we might have here in the diaspora in terms of the materials that is going to be transformed, because it's nothing more than transformation. Existence is about transformation. All of us were just a little drop of sperm until we transform into an egg and into who we are today, from being a baby to full adult now. And we also transform a few years from now. We are going to become dust in the form of the body is going to get to dust, because that is the transformation continuously. So when we talk about business now, we're looking at how do we transform what we have for something else that of value to the community, and then there's going to be an exchange. Because it said it's going to be $20 or $10. That is the price for it. Then you're going to sell 10 or 15 of it. So I'm saying, do we have the knowledge to be able to do this? Maybe I'm asking the same question that you already have responded to. Do we have the skill to be able to do this? What do we lack as a people to be able to do what we are supposed to do, so that we can build social entrepreneurship that will carry us and also carry those that are going to come into the future? What do you say about that?
Can I just share about that? Because I think I wanted to touch on that and I completely forgot. I don't even know why I did that. But I think that sometimes as a child, you see people will say that, oh, uncle, the energy for my body too much. You see this ADHD they call in our children might really not be ADHD if we look at it inward, right? Because maybe this child has so much energy that they need to champion into something else that's not just, it has so much energy. Some people want to learn social entrepreneurship at early age, but we're looking at this child like, oh my God, he's doing too much. Sometimes it's not like us doing too much. We need to, because sometimes we don't have people who teach us this language of social entrepreneurship at an early age. Nobody's really teaching us. So as now that we are conscious as a diaspora, we need to start learning how to give these tools to our own children too early. I know that some of our parents might not have given us these tools, or they might not have handed it over to us, but we cannot continue to pass on intergenerational dysfunction across a continent. We have to continue to hand over what we have. Yeah, we know we try to take care of our kids, but while we try to take care of them and take responsibility, we also have to be able to hand over the knowledges that we have onto them, so that they're able to transform and be like, yeah, this is what my father gave to me, and this is very valuable and priceless, and this is how I owe to use it to inspire other people. So I rest now. Thank you.
All right. I pass the same question to you, Dr. Marcia. So what is your take on the know one, teach one, the helping each other to be able to build up the business? Because the business now, it requires a bit of skill to be able to do it well. You made mention of funding before. Because for you to be able to do anything, you need to fund it, you need to do a couple of things to get it to work. So some of this skill that we might not all of us have in the beginning, how do we get it more around in the community so that more people can develop more projects of social benefit, of social impact within the community? It doesn't mean that you cannot make profit. You can make profit. Why not? But it's more of social impact in the community. Whether you're talking of education, talking of diagnosis of certain ailments or certain issue, or looking at how do we own our voice. That can be a business. The owning of our voice can be a business that take care of our need. So what do you say about that?
There are two things that Latifa said that I love: the relationship building and the culture of trust that people put in you, that even when our father now has passed, the trust is translated and carried over as an integrity mantra. And I find that I have similar experience in my background and with my mother. A lot of persons that I meet that I do not know, but they knew my mother or my father, is paying it forward. They're rewarding me for what they could not give back to them, and for the trust and for the help and security that they got. So what I would want to say as one of our greatest drawbacks of social entrepreneurship in the diaspora And why we are not building our wealth is because of the trust. There is the trust factor. There's a trust issue. The integrity is lacking. And so we first of all want to bridge that gap. The next thing I would talk about too is the mentorship and multipliers. They are in scarce commodity. Persons, what do you say, lock on. There seems to be a culture in the diaspora and in the Caribbean and in African societies where persons lock onto the knowledge that they have. And even if it's not serving them, they don't share it because they don't want you to have it and they expect to grow. And when things begin to close in on them, they may see the difference, but it does not work. Or they choose special persons to pass on the knowledge that already has knowledge and that in fact can't really use this knowledge to do much. So that's part of the problem. The multipliers and the mentors, they're lacking and they feeling that I must lock away what I know. There is also the misalignment. There, in every community, there is a brain and there is a heart. The brains of communities serve different purposes than the hearts of the community. One, do the thinking for the community, strategically building and uplifting and nurturing the soul of the community, which is really the heart. Those persons who build their processes, their gifts and their talents through kindness, compassion, mercy, grace. And their profit is not just tangible, but it is aesthetic. It pulls along. And so it binds and connects heart to heart, while the brain does the work of providing the platform for the connection, the exchange, the sale, the profit to be made. And so we have to know who are the bridge builders in our communities and how we can align ourselves to participate and profit from that gift or talent using my own gift and dreams and where I want to go. I must know who are the cultural preservers and how they can assist me to preserve the culture through my enterprise and through my business. I must know the policy influencers, those that influence policy, and how my little dream, my little business, my little gifting, my little choice can be how the policy intersects and can be integrated. So I also push that along. And we want to look at those who are really the mentors and the multipliers. And those are the persons who come with the funding, who comes to draft the proposal and put the ideas together. So they have international impact as well as local impact. Once we put all of those together and we don't try to be everything for ourselves, then we will begin to see progress and there will be light at the end of the channel. And there will also be a chain reaction where there are persons who benefit at the top, in the middle, and at the end of the game.
You talk of the lockup, and I think, yeah, that is really evidence. I don't know where you are getting the idea from, but it's really evidence across the community. But the question is, what do we know as to what is responsible for that? Is it because we don't trust ourselves enough, or we don't trust that the people that are going to carry on the message are going to be able to do well with it? All right, where this question is coming from is an interview I did with somebody before. We were talking about spirituality in this sense, talking of knowledge, deep knowledge. That is what the expert was talking about in African spirituality. And we were saying there were things that our ancestors know how to do. And that problem is still there today. It's there in my village, it's there in many other communities. They didn't pass on the knowledge to the generation after them. In fact, they literally died with the knowledge. Some of the questions we're asking is that, why did they do that? Some people were saying, well, they didn't trust enough those that were coming after them because the knowledge they had were very powerful. If they put it in the wrong hand, it could be very dangerous. Maybe in the attempt of waiting for the right person who they can give this knowledge to, they die. So the entire community lose this knowledge. So I'm saying, listen, if you're an African you live in Africa or you know African history, research in your village. There are a lot of deep knowledge that have been missing. Why? Because this knowledge has been passed on from generation to generation, but it get to a point it was not passed on anymore. Those who knew that knowledge didn't pass it on. The question we're asking is why? We better ask the question.
So the performance, the two things that I am finding in my understanding and how I look at the diaspora and how I relate to persons in the diaspora and how I am related by blood and by culture to these persons, I find that one of the greatest issues that we have is the pressure to perform. African communities, as well as Caribbean people, because we are descendants, we are finding that the expectations that we carry seem to be much greater than the average individual, because our expectations are not only cultural expectations, but they are spiritual and they are economical. And that escape route is not there for everyone. The limited understanding of how we would put business, social impact and business go together was not clearly defined to a generation that had to focus on survival, had to be mostly in survival mode. And those who caught it early did not know enough to pass it on in as a credentialized exchange. So the oral tradition and the missing part, so they learned this, they were familiar, they knew how to do this, but there is a missing ingredient, there's a missing part, could not be whole scale put across to the next generation. And what they knew, they had to fight with what they knew, not because many people died with the knowledge that they had. It's because the time and the limited understanding did not allow them to put it together so that it could have a social impact while integrated into business. Because, as I said before, the survival mode. And so those gaps cannot be breached at any time, but we can use what we have going forward to niche down on what is valuable and what truly matters and to carry it forward. And we are depending on persons who come together with the knowledge that they know, because each of us has an oral tradition that was passed down. Each of us have recipes, each of us have inspiration, each of us have skills that we learned by rote because we were a part of these people. They were not perfect in us, because sometimes too, there is this adage that we have where we say we don't want our children to suffer the way we suffer, and we don't want them to go through what we go through. And that's a mistake that we constantly make, because they must go through that passage of who we are. We must be our authentic selves in our home, and we must value and we must treasure and we must highlight those things that make us who we are and make us become these valuable citizens that we are, that gave us our resilience and our endurance. And we must merge it with what now exists in those who are our generation that come after. And we must make that gap, that we become unbeatable and we become sustainers of dreams and incubators of purpose. And that's really what is lacking, and why we can't make that gap, because we are refusing to reconcile our past with our present.
That is powerful. Of course, I had a question I wanted to ask Reverend Gloria, but I see, Latifa, you were like, you wanted to say something just now as I was making reference to that transition. Actually, I think that we can call it like that, a transition from those who know to those who do not, or at the point to the generation that come after, because it is a critical part of our history. That if you don't pass on the knowledge, those that are coming after will not know, because we know if you give the people the possibility of knowing, if you don't teach them, they will not know. So I don't know if you wanted to say something quickly there before I ask a question to Reverend Gloria.
I wanted to highlight just some important things around that topic, and it's also more about knowing like some of the history that we have when it comes to a sense of trust. When it comes to sense of trust, we need to understand that our skin color has always been an issue for most people for a very, very long time, right? And I speak to a lot of people not even comfortable about the color of their skin, thinking that a skin color has more value than others. You know, I think that having conversation around the importance of how beautiful we are is kind of very, very crucial. And I feel like the sense of psychological empowerment for our people is also very, very crucial. I think that's where my thoughts were when it comes to that question of how do we even navigate this trust, right? I give you an example. When people want to come and do webinars in our countries, if people don't see a white man, they're not comfortable. They're going to be like, oh no. But when they hear someone, oh, they're from the UN, they're from the United Nations, they're from World Health Organization, it's filled with white people. I got a certificate of a white man. I think that sense, that needs to stop. You know what I mean? This is how we can protect our authenticity as Black persons, as African diaspora, as, I can't even stop thinking about like some of these topics. But I'll rest.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm sure that each and every one of us that have been in the diaspora for some time, we understand that mentality of trying to add the white people to the group so that it can be valid, no? But it's actually a sign of inferiority complex on our part. Except maybe you are taking a strategic move, because when you come to strategy or playing a kind of negotiation, depending on what type of negotiation you are dealing with, except for that singular reason, it's a sign that we don't feel secure enough, even in our skin. But that is quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate because other people, if the Jewish people want to negotiate, want to do something, they don't need to put an African inside for them to be able to pass it. So why do Nigeria, when they want to do something in Lagos, they want to organize an international conference, or want to organize a Senate training, they want a white person to be among the people for other Nigeria to say, oh, it is a good one, or it is of standard. What if the things were organized by two people in Lagos? Those are also very qualitative people. They also got the training. But we don't usually give them enough recognition that they know that. Until we bring one Thomas from UK and one person from Germany, they might not necessarily know the job. They don't know it better than those in Nigeria. But because of the skin color, like Latifa is saying, we give them the credit for it just because they are white people. So that is us undoing ourselves. Anyway, I have a question for you, Sister Gloria. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The question is this. Because we're talking about the role of social entrepreneurship in the diaspora. We're also talking of how do we pass on the knowledge. So maybe, for example, if you look, which example I wanted to use was of the Senegalese people who are into this entrepreneurship. Of course, Africans are basically entrepreneurial people. Like I think Latifa was also making reference to that. Because we don't usually have government work. If you don't have government work and you are doing something for somebody and you are getting paid for that to be able to live, and you do more of that, you are an entrepreneur because you set the standard, you set the price, you decide what you want to do for somebody else to pay you. Or what maybe might be added to that is how do we expand on that so that you can do more of it, get more money and expand in your business and serve more people, of course. So the question is, what is the right way to pass on this knowledge so that the younger people coming in, they get it into their head that they can actually give a new definition to the society, plan out a game and execute on it without waiting for somebody to come and say, this is the order of the day. You can set the order, like Latifa is saying. You can set the table and invite people to join you. You don't need to wait and say, oh, they should invite me to join. No, what is a circle? You can draw the circle and invite people to join in the conversation. So I'm saying, how do we pass on this knowledge to the next generation? Do we even have the knowledge ourselves? What do you say about that?
Well, it's all about education. What we're doing here, on these calls, we need to do more and more of it, raising awareness. I mean, I am coming, like I said from the beginning, I'm coming to this topic from the lens of an ancestral lineage healing practitioner, because I think so many of us are functioning with the trauma of generations. So we have to constantly we need to understand that we We are living with trauma, all of us. And this trauma, if we're not aware of it, we're passing it on to the next generations. And just to quickly say something about also the those who have gone before, who didn't pass a lot of the information. It's complex in that maybe they didn't have the means at the time. Some of them, like it's happening now, those elders who with traditions and culture and all of that, and apprentices, who their children used to be apprentices to their work, the children no longer want to do that. They're turning away from it. And like Sister Marcia said, the parents are also saying they want better for their children. So there's just a breakdown and something that needs to be worked on so many levels. And the best way is through this communication that we're doing now, talking about it. I mean, social entrepreneurship is, I said before, it's not just a business model. It's a sacred assignment. We need to look at it in that way now. It's not just business. Every act of community building is also an act of healing memory. It offers us a way to respond to ancestral grief and communal longing with tangible hope. So, like I said also earlier, that this thing has to be very intentional. And for it to be intentional, we have to understand what has happened, what is happening, and what we need to try to prevent from happening in the way that it has happened. This thing is going to take some time. But like somebody said, I hate this analogy, but I'll use it, that to eat an elephant, because I love elephants, that you have to eat it little by little, small, and this is a big elephant. And we have to, attack it on so many levels. It's not just one way. And the more of us who are talking about it, I mean, when I first came to the UK, or over the years, my aunties and uncles, they used to say in Yoruba, oyinbo po lenu e," meaning there's so much grammar in how you talk, that where's your Yoruba? And I said, well, at home, bless them, my mom was an educator, she was a headmistress, she was a all of it. And my dad was an industrialist, so it was English. We spoke English at home, but we understood Yoruba from just being around aunties, uncles. But I was thinking, bless them, I don't fault them for what they did. They sent us abroad, sent us educated, UK, America, all of it. And by the time, and I used to listen when my parents spoke Yoruba when they were talking among them. So the Yoruba was so pure. I used to listen. I used to think it was like music to my ears. The way it just flowed and it all up, it was just, Yoruba is a beautiful language, and it's such an intentional language. I used to just look at them, and even though I didn't understand a lot of it, I just understood something. Something was coming from how they were among themselves, looking at the elders. And then my grandpappy would come and he would shake my hands and he would call me, oh, my Atinuke, then he'll call my Oriki, my praise. And all of that, it's inside me, because I feel it all coming up now, because I'm intentional. I've decided this is my path now. I know my focus. I know my intentions. I know what I've been brought here to do. And because of that, this stuff, like I say, is not something I have to go and get somewhere. It's already in me. I'm just intentionally bringing it out. So talking about social entrepreneurship, I know in the Yoruba cosmology, it teaches that each soul is born with what we call a Aye life, a path of destiny shaped by their Ori defined guidance and their ancestors. So I believe that social entrepreneurship walks this particular path consciously, and not for individual success, but to activate collective purpose. We have to believe that something has been taken from us. We have to be passionate and hungry and want to reclaim it, want to improve it, want to safeguard it for our future generations. And if we don't have that desire, there's an urgency now. It's not just, oh, a frivolous, thing. That urgency, we have to feel it. And I think there are many of us who still are living in la la land. They think, oh, once I can make myself happy, I can get, all the material things that I want. I see what we're doing. I see just that still lack of understanding that this is a different time. This is yes, do what makes you happy, but there's also you have a duty of care. You have a duty of care for your future generation. The world is different now. And if we don't get that and also understand that we have been given certain gifts, I mean, that is the thing that I just look at us and I say, if we really understand, because and I hate using terminology, the white man and all that, but they see what we have. They see it. And they will do what they need to do to survive, for their people to, you see all the different groups, the Jewish people, the this, the that, everybody's trying to make their own people survive. What are we doing? And we're so, there's still that carelessness, and we don't know what it is that we're playing with, because the way the world is going, the evidence is there. Even a blind man can see it. So this urgency, we need to ramp it up, and social entrepreneurship is such a powerful place to use those particular gifts that we have to expand our purpose, to expand what it is that we want to do. I mean, a social entrepreneur, when attuned with their Ori, that divine consciousness becomes the vessel through which Ashe is that divine power, that authority that makes things happen. The Ashe can move in service to others. No amount of marketing or funding can replace a spiritual alignment. And we have to understand a business model must not only be viable, it must be vibrational and on a frequency that is aligned. Otherwise, it is built on shaky ground. And that's why a lot of people, they acquire so much. People, and still they're empty, still they're poor. The poverty is in spirit. And this is something that we have to understand. Long before the term social entrepreneurship was coined, our ancestors practiced economies of care. In Yoruba villages, something called Ajo, which, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is a rotating savings system. And the Owe, again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which was proverbially known, the knowledge of sharing exists. It was the knowledge of sharing between themselves. It existed. So we already have the blueprint. This is part of who we are. I believe also in the Igbo culture, there's also something similar, the early forms of ethical economics. So it was built on trust, rhythm, and reciprocity. This is all those things that we already have within us. We're naturally that way. I mean, we are a friendly, kind, generous people. So, and we don't, when I go home, I always say it. I always marvel. That's why I'm excited. I'm going home soon. That when I walk among my people and the way they look at me, there's that genuine love. They can see that I've probably come from somewhere because I have that look, as my aunties used to say. But there's also the look of interest, the look of love, the look of curiosity. And sometimes, not even without words being exchanged. I go to the market, the market sellers, they give me extra things, it's just the beauty of who we are. It's such a wonderful thing. My excitement of who I am has grown within the last few years. And I think, learning the social entrepreneurship is one way that if we truly are able to see it as a spiritual calling, it will make a difference in how we go at it and how we treat it. And I'll stop there for now.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It's true that it's part of us. It has been part of us. We lost it and we are trying to recover it, but it has been part of us. You see, if you look back, if it's possible for people to look back, they can see that life have been balanced, life have been peaceful, life have been set up to be peaceful in the traditional system. Okay, I want to give you an instance. I was told, and then at a point, I got to experience a little bit of it. The concept of stranger, or in my language, Oriobe in Assam, was never negative. It was positive. That as a stranger, you were supposed to be protected. Now, the art of not having enough was never seen as a way to disrespect somebody. Now, this is how they were organizing life then. When you go deep into the forest, maybe for example, you are going to the farm, very far, they know that you will be thirsty of water. Around us, there is no rivers. Okay, if you go deep inside, you might find a river. But what do people do, even when there are rivers, is that somebody will fetch water from the river and put it back. I will hang it by the roadside under the shade where there is no sun. This was a culture that was well diffused. The person that put it there know that somebody is going to pass there and the person is going to be thirsty of water. And the person will go there and drink. That is all you just need to do. You find water left there for you to drink and continue your journey. But maybe there is something you are going to leave behind also. Maybe a little money or something as a gratitude, as an appreciation that you like this gesture. But I don't want to take it further because it's deeper. We could actually explain on that, explain more about that. But what I want to ask people, Africans, fellow Africans, okay, let me say Nigeria, that because this is a culture that is not only ASAN, I think it's also in other part of Africa. If you are walking today, if you see water like that, would you drink? The answer is no. Because why? You are scared. Maybe they put poison. But how come your ancestors were able to live this kind of life where they could trust each other? They didn't know who put the water. Remember, they didn't know, the name was not written who put the water. The water was put there because there was going to be a stranger, a passerby who will need it. They know that somebody will need it. They did it so that life can be easy for the person who is in difficulty. What if we could build up businesses like that? That we create value for people. We make life easy for people. That in our community, we know that there is no school. Do you want to tell me that in Nigeria, for example, we don't have enough money to build road? That is why we don't have road? We don't even need the government this time. There are individuals that are rich enough to make it happen. Somebody will say, well, are you the one that make me rich? The money is for me. It's all for me. So what are you going to do now? So we are consuming the land instead of building it up. Okay, you see, land was supposed to be something that we collectively own. And it is our responsibility to protect it too. Imagine if we are building an economy around that. Okay, now, currently, among the Europeans, there is a concept of social sustainable economy. Communal economy is an idea that is coming now. But what I just told you is a communal economy, the collective existence, that your life depended on my life, and my life depended on your life. We make it very fluid, very easy for us to live. But then we got into capitalism. I can even sell you and your family because you are owing me. I want to thank all of you for being here. And I think what we are talking about is knowing who we are, knowing our value, and using it to serve. That is all what it is. Using what you know to serve the community. Muhammad Ali said, the rent we pay on earth is a service we render to other people. That is from a deep thought. That we should be able to build economy social entrepreneurship, social enterprises in the community, you can still make profit. You see, the example I was giving of somebody fetching water and putting it somewhere, the person is not useless, it's not stupid, because they want to make life easier. What is the business you want to build? What is it for? It's not just about the profit. Of course, you will make money if you do what is right. And what you are looking for is money. The money will come, don't worry. But how are you solving the problem in your community?
I think the idea of trust is not a single factor. There is a need for us to look beyond trust and talk about greed. You see, greed has been something that has been embedded in some of our culture, where some people they just want to take more than what they need, and they want to own it. If you look at the history of slavery, how we were being sold to the white people, all of these ideologies is rooted in corruption, bribery, not talking about greed, beyond trust. Because I could trust somebody, but if all their mindset is to take more from me, is to take more than what they need. And as a community, if we keep taking more than what we need, we know we want to save for rainy day, but if you don't want to share back and put back in that same community, you're just a greedy person. So how do we unlearn all these greediness? How do we unlearn these things when we've been told to be individualistic and amass so much wealth that we might never get to pass away with when we die? And all of this is rooted in Eurocentrism is rooted in whiteness, is rooted in oppression, colonization. All these things are not African. It's not the white man that's going to be teaching us social connection. It's not the white man that's going to be teaching us how to foster resilience in our community. We've been at this. Now they're bringing in technology, bringing in AI, bringing in all these terrible things to, split us away from each other. As a young mother, when you give birth to a child, you spend the first 2-3 years of your life with that child. You carry them on your back. Now, society is not really looking into that. But this is what I knew as an African, as a Nigerian, because every mother has to build that bond. Every caregiver builds that bond of nurturing their child. Now, we don't even have that sense of connection from the time of birth, right? And then because all of this happened in the diaspora, you don't have the time to build a connection. Then the child goes to school and starts to throw a tantrum. The same society where we now live in is saying, "Oh, you didn't raise your child well, but you didn't give me the time to raise my child well." You see, so all of these nuances, we need to start looking deep and looking inward into how we can own back ourselves, into how we can use our stories and the things that we know, the knowledges that we know. Like I used to say this, storytelling does not have to end with my grandmother. I feel like the last person who told me stories is my grandmother. My mom never got, and my mom is not a bad person, it's just that she didn't have that time to sit back and tell us stories. But I always value like the knowledges that my grandmother would share, and she still shares it to date, right? And this is what I love about storytelling. And stories don't go old, they are always something to cherish. It is part of our culture. It is part of our roots. It is part of our ancestry. It is part of our family history. It is part of our lineage. So we have to continue to hold on to what we know and what we have. Thank you.
Yeah, what is your final thought in the conversation? Maybe a kind of a reflection, and then tell the people also how to find your work, your book, or if you have a course, how they can learn more from, because everything you have said come from somewhere. They can get more from that by connecting with you. Please go.
All right, so you want to look at what you have, how you want to serve, what you love to do, what you are good at, and how you can integrate all of that into your community and profit others and profit yourself. You want to understand your purpose, and you also want to start with one step at a time. You want to, first of all, document your idea, though, your gifting, how you can serve. You want to document that. You want to have your purpose vision out there, and you want to test it on a small scale very widely, so you see how people respond to it and how the fundraising can go. And you want to join a network. So you want to also identify if you're a bridge builder or if you're an influencer, what comes naturally to you, and pivot your purpose from there. You're offering your gifting, your support network from there. And then you can begin to have a meaningful connection and a dialogue, starting from where you are. That is not based on greed, not based on a lack of trust, but actually is cemented in meaningful connections, innovation, and creativity, and actually sharing and giving and inclusion and diversity. So you want to, when you put all of that together, it culminates with the why. When you answer the question why, then it changes your outcome, it changes your ministry, and it changes your partnership, how you interact with this dream, this purpose, this plan, how it can impact others and how it can serve them. I am Dr. Marcia Thomas, a Christian Leadership Life and Career Coach. I am also a dissertation coach, and I am an author. I help women mostly who are female leaders over 40 who need to identify their purpose, understand it, and also transition it into a profitable God-given calling. That's what I really do. And that I can be contacted if you send me a DM on LinkedIn, or if you send me an email at Dr. TP motivate me number 2 at gmail.com, or you can apply for my services at drtpmotivate numeral 2.com. Thanks so much for having me today. And I think we have started a thought-provoking discussion that we want you to continue through self-reflection, self-awareness, and the steps that you need to take to fulfill your purpose and your God-given calling. Thank you.
It's now turn for Reverend Gloria Tino. Can you hear me, ma'am?
I can.
All right. So what is going to be your final take here, looking at what we discussed today, the role of social entrepreneurship in the African diaspora community? And of course, you looked at it from the point of view of who you are, what you do, which is ancestral, from the point of view of ancestral healing. Of course, there is a lot of healing that needs to take place within the diaspora community, but also in Africa. So how do you conclude the conversation? And also remember to tell the people how to find you and the services that you have out there.
I would conclude with saying a few things. There's a great scholar and spiritual leader, Dr. Marimba Ani. She said, she reminded us that African knowledge systems are inherently communal, and that we need to move away from individual accumulation towards collective elevation. Move away from individual accumulation toward collective elevation. Social entrepreneurship in the diaspora is our opportunity to revive those models in modern form, blending ancient wisdom with digital platforms, artisan craft, with e-commerce, community strong storytelling, and global reach. I also strongly view purposeful enterprise as medicine for the soul, for soul exhaustion, which we are witnessing on a huge scale in the polycrisis that we're living through now. Also, there was this great poet. I loved something he said, John O'Donoghue. He said, "Your soul knows the geography of your destiny." I love that. So with that, I will be asking the next few questions. I ask, who are you becoming? Who are you becoming as you build your business? Whose prayers are you answering with your business? What pain are you helping to transform into purpose? Social entrepreneurship in the diaspora is not just economic, it is spiritual, cultural, and deeply political. It is one of the ways we reroute ourselves, reclaim dignity, and rewrite what is possible for our people. So I invite you to build with Ashe, that powerful divine power, energy to make things happen, to speak with intention and serve with joy. Let's bring back joy into what we do, because you are not just building a venture, you are building a bridge home. I conclude with this, with a Yoruba greeting of Ire O. Ire means a heartfelt wish to invoke your well-being, invoke blessings and good fortune and goodness to follow you. Ashe. My name is Gloria Tinu Ogumbadejo. You can find me on LinkedIn.
We appreciate your time, and of course, we appreciate also the other people that have been here, Latifat, and then of course, Dr. Matia. We thank you for this time that we share together, talking about the role of social entrepreneurship in the diaspora community. Of course, we need it. We need time like this to be able to share and to learn from each other. So we thank you so much. And of course, we talk also about the value that we bring to the table. We talk also about the fact that we don't need to wait for any person. We can set the table and invite other people to join us. So this is particularly important in a time like this. So thank you all for having accompanied us to the end of this conversation. And of course, if you have any thought, you can leave it in the comment section. And we ask you to subscribe to this channel and share also with other people who might have value or need for it. And join us again. We're going to be here on another occasion talking about important argument relating to the African diaspora community. So have a wonderful time. I'll talk to you next time.